Indian or Native American? Here we go. G Speaker is so base. It's so good. This guy makes such good content.
Imagine the merging of trusted intelligence.
Who cares? I don't
unified
care.
experience.
I don't
Imagine
care.
collaboration
Oil.
amongst teams
I
and
just want
across
oil.
continents.
And
Imagine
dark
an
clouds.
empowered ecosystem inspiring actionable insights. That's
Oh, who
the
cares?
connector.
Great quality content.
The
Oh, I
first
know.
people who lived here named themselves. Across the continent in hundreds of languages, the word for people, or the first people, was what they used. Other people existed to trade and talk and fight with, but the continent was vast and travel slow. There were no horses and wouldn't be for millennia. No group could know all the others, so there was no single name for all. Then, from across the sea came a new other people who brought with them great and terrible things.
Horses!
They too had a name for themselves in their own language, but they also brought a name for the first people, Indians. We are in the future from this past, and you in the future from my present, possibly the far future.
Yes,
and the
far
word
future.
Indian may have just made you uncomfortable. So let's talk about words. Words are what we make them. Without the words surrounding them, without brains to interpret them, words are but whispers of wind. It's a word's utility to the speaker and the reaction of the listener that causes words to be born.
So you know, a word by itself has nothing, has no meaning. You need to add the context around it, and that context makes the word bad or good. The same applies to like the N word or whatever. You know, the N word is like so taboo now because the context around it just changed so much. And I guess with Indian and stuff like that, there's something to be done with that,
die.
right?
Long after its first use in the New World, the early British and American empires needed a word to collectively describe the first people, and Indian,
And word's so cool. Wow. Okay, Panda, don't say that.
despite its confused origins, was that word. As the empires expanded, there was terrible conflict. The first people found themselves decimated and scattered. Many forcibly moved to reservations,
Goodbye.
land unknown, with
America
others
land now.
needing to act as one new group to survive, to hold on to any sovereignty. As the world progressed from horses to steam to electricity, the nature of conflict changed. Fewer guns and germs, more mines and laws. But the first people were now a tiny minority in the land, while also a multiplicity of groups. For comparison, there are about 200 countries in the world. Within the United States, the reservations number more than 300. Within and without
In-
those areas of special sovereignty, there are more than 500
That's
federally recognized
so many
tribes,
small
each
tribes.
with a different name.
And-
to win the minds of the majority, to get laws securing sovereignty, hundreds of different names for different groups is not helpful. A collective name, one clear in the minds of the majority, was
And so, Indian became just a word to be used for law. You know, at the end of the day, we need to organize with words so we can use law for organized stuff, you know? And I guess Indian first came with that.
needed.
You know?
A name useful.
But like, is today, what can we do? Do we need still a name to like organize those groups easily? And maybe Indian is not the best, but what can we use to really represent well all those factors, all those problems, not problems, but like all those stuff
In the
that
time
we still need to have. Yes, just say a Native American. Again, Native American, it seems to be too broad.
of civil rights, American Indians, shortened to Indians, was, despite its confused origins, that name. For words are what we make them, and we can unmake them. As I write this script looking at the past and toward you in the future, I will
It's just
bet
as
that
broad as
future
Indian?
history will unmake Indian
I'm not. Oh, that's
in
easy.
favor of Native American
Yeah.
or something else. You know if this has happened, but here, as part of working on this series, I've traveled to many reservations to see them and to talk to the people who live in them. On reservations, the word Indian is still used without hesitation or negative connotation, used as identity, not universally, but near it. You, like me, may be surprised to hear that, given the word's confused origins, but words are what we make them, and Indians have made the word theirs. Now, as for Native American, while preferred by some, there exists in others a strong dislike and resentment of the name. The word created to explain this dislike was passed on to me, and the only way to explain fully is to pass it on to you.
Our roll, trust me, shoot, let's go.
So, the dislike comes from over-inclusivity. I know, I know, I know.
Wait, is he racist?
But let's stay thoughtful and examine what this word was created to communicate. For at least 300 years, Indian has meant the first people in this part of the world, separated at first, but thrust into a shared history. It is clear, it is sharp. The word Native American, less so. It can include everyone from the top to bottom of 2 continents.
Like I said, I go back to like, it's too broad. Indian feels like a bit more like precise about like the native on out inside of North America, like especially like the continental inside part, you know?
A vast number of different cultures and current day goals and concerns. The histories of North, Central, and South America are as divergent as the histories of Asia, Europe, and Africa. To call a person from here, or here a native Afro-Eurasian would be so over-inclusive as to make
Native Indian is just worse, Lamau.
it difficult for that human to strongly identify with or rally others.
No, Native Indian is like the actual Indian, you know, in India. That would be that. Yeah, but the problem is just that the US has claimed the word America to mean them. Yeah, I just feel like we came here, we decided, oh, now that's your name. After that, like, we had the need to, like, have a law system. And because we had the need of a law, we had the need to, like, find a word that represents all the native there. And I just feel now, it's just, like, the context has changed. I don't feel maybe it's as bad, you know? Like, the context around it is... I don't know what I'm saying. The video
so it goes
better.
for Native American. Additionally, it can feel like yet another thing forced from the outside.
Oh, like you said.
Talking to people
Like you said, first by the outside. Let's see.
about this project over the last 5 years revealed a strong correlation. The closer a person had ever been to a reservation, the more likely they would use Indian. The farther, the more likely they would use the word Native American. And that's understandable. Is Indian okay? Maybe. But Native American won't be wrong, and it's useful to express concern and sensitivity as an outsider. But this creates an unstable balance between insider and outsider use of a word.
That would a guy who is Indian origin but lives in the U.S. Oh,
If
yeah,
the
the
majority
Indian American.
hesitates over a word,
Indian American guy who is Indian origin but lives in the
it
US.
slides into
Like an immigrant.
uncomfortability.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. I
As an
missed.
outsider. But this creates an unstable balance between insider and outsider use of a word. If the majority hesitates over a word, it slides into uncomfortability. Or worse, if the majority decides a word is unacceptable, so it becomes. Groups should be able to name themselves, but when they're small, they often can't. The word used to describe themselves, outsiders, through sheer numbers, redefine. At the time of writing, this is happening to Indian, but the leading replacement is not as universally well regarded inside reservations as those outside may expect. As we will talk about, many things have been given to the first people, promises and rights and lands, only once used and adopted by them to be taken away. So it may go again. Thus, this series will use American Indian or Indian for 3 main reasons. 1. The word is clear in geography and history, limited to the first people of what is now
It's more
the
precise.
continental United States. 2. The tribal governments and the United States government use Indian. The Bureau of Indian Affairs, staffed by Indians, which mediates between the 2 governments.
At the end of the day, the word is the American thing. I don't know if it could apply as much in Canada because it's like maybe different, but I guess in the US, the word seems
also uses Indian.
be
To call
more-
governments and departments and laws by names other than what they are would be pointlessly confusing. 3. At the time of writing, Indian is used by Indians on Indian reservations to describe themselves.
By the time of the video.
We're well past that point where you hear a word so many times it starts to become meaningless. Fun fact, there's a word for that: semantic satiation.
Semantic satiation, when a word become meaningless.
Delightfully alliterative and will cause
League of Legends
itself, but I leave that as an exercise to the viewer. This has been 1,300 words in an attempt to explain one. That's complete. We can now move on to the next part.
Oh, it's so good. GCP Grey, so good. Okay, now we need to see if what is the source. Ooh, we didn't put the source. Ooh, that's bad. How can we make sure that it's good Ooh, no sources. Still. I feel it makes great points. It's still interesting. And like knowing the channel, I feel it's not that bad. You know, it came from a right place. Do a nice video. What do you guys think? What do we think? You should use Zotero! Yes, Zotero! What do we think? Is that a YouTube gem? Are we hitting a mark with this? Anyways, League of Legends. Second game, and